Hi everyone. So I'm Hannah from Iconic Resourcing, and today I'm joined by Sean McGrath of Entrepreneurial Scotland. Hi Sean.
Hi Hannah, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, not too bad.
Good, and it's the 1st of February. I can't believe it. Are you quite happy to see the back of January? Or are you like me where I'm kind of like, oh, I don't want this year to be over as quickly as last year was?
Well, one of the guys in our team sent a message around this morning saying your 30-day trial of 2021 has expired. Please click here to sign up for more. So I don't think there was very many people that were looking forward to clicking up for more, but
So a quick introduction to Sean. Now, Sean is the finance director of Entrepreneurial Scotland, whose motto is Scotland's future will be shaped by those who think, act and lead in an entrepreneurial way. So Sean worked for several years in commercial roles for brands such as Monster, Red Bull, before retraining as an accountant in 2011. So after joining Deloitte, he became a CA in 2014, moved to London and Scottish Investments in 2016 as financial controller, and then in 2019 became finance director for Entrepreneurial Scotland. So Sean, do you want to start by just telling us a bit, for those that don't know the charity, tell us a bit more about Entrepreneurial Scotland?
Yeah, certainly Hannah, and thanks a million for the introduction. So Entrepreneurial Scotland, exactly as you've said, is an independent charitable foundation. Our vision really is to make Scotland the most entrepreneurial society in the world. And the way that we want to do that is by, exactly as you've said, helping people to think, act and lead entrepreneurially. And the reason that we do this, and the reason we're a charity that's focused on this, is because if we can help people grasp the opportunity that lies in front of them, then really what we're not trying to do is, have a chosen select few who go on to become successful and rich entrepreneurs. But we're helping people to unlock their opportunity and unleash their potential so that they can then go on to create even more opportunities for those that can't do it for themselves or those that need a first opportunity to get started. So really, it's in a roundabout way, it's almost about job creation and opportunities for everybody. And we focus heavily on entrepreneurship because actually Scotland as a society itself has a long, steady history in entrepreneurship and innovation and invention. And really, we're just trying to help people understand that mindset, that skill set exists in this country, and we just want to bring it to the fore. Says the Irishman, but yeah, very much for Scotland.
Yeah, brilliant. And it leads us on quite well to our topic today, which is the potential for accountants to be more entrepreneurial, which certainly from a recruitment perspective is something that more organisations have been asked more and more for, especially when they're hiring, is how, that real commercial piece. So in terms of accountants, how would you say they could be more entrepreneurial in a way that might be different from a typical accounting professional?
So this is something that I'm really, really passionate about. It gets me a bit animated, so apologies if I get jumpy in the background here. But I think accountants are supremely well placed to be entrepreneurial. And to kind of get into that, I'll just explain in the first instance what we talk about when we talk about entrepreneurialism. A lot of people see entrepreneurialism as a job. So I am an entrepreneur, I set up a business, I own a business. But actually entrepreneurship is far more than that. It's more a mindset, it's more a skill set. It's an approach to doing things. And if you kind of carry that in your head, if you think about the fact that, look, I don't need to have set up my own business to be entrepreneurial, then it really kind of changes the conversation a bit in terms of what it means to be an entrepreneur. So I think accountants are probably the best placed of all professions to go on to be entrepreneurial or to support the more traditional entrepreneur. And the reason I think that's the case is because when you're an accountant, you get to see under the hood. You get to see the inner mechanics of numerous businesses. And once you understand that, and once you understand the numbers, which is really the kind of the lifeblood of any organization, it gives you that unique advantage. And it also gives you that credibility to be listened to, because a lot of being an entrepreneur is having the credibility to push through the things that need to happen. So for me, if you are an accountant and you don't think of yourself as entrepreneurial, that's fine. Most accountants probably don't. But hopefully you're listening to this and thinking, well, actually, maybe I can start to think of myself as having the potential to be entrepreneurial or be entrepreneurial in different ways. Again, not going out and setting up your lemonade stand and selling lemonade, but actually supporting ideas, helping things to get done. The Latin definition of an entrepreneur is the first to do. And, we talk a little bit about the fact that what entrepreneurs are people that recognize a good idea and then execute on it. It just so happens that most of the time the idea they recognize that's good is their own. But a lot of entrepreneurs recognize other people's ideas and execute on it. So you don't have to be this kind of inventor or dreamer of things. You just have to be someone that has the ability to recognize a good idea and drive it through.
Fantastic. Would you say then that somebody doesn't necessarily need to own a business, so an accounting professional doesn't have to go and start or own their own business to be entrepreneurial? It could be somebody in a accountancy practice or in a business who can then potentially demonstrate more kind of entrepreneurial and commercial traits.
Exactly, most definitely. I'll give you an example. Our chairman of Entrepreneurial Scotland, so an organisation that's built around entrepreneurship, our chairman is the former chief executive Alexander Dennis. Now, he has never set up a business. He didn't set up Alexander Dennis, but what he did do was he joined and he took it from an organisation that was really struggling to one that was, super succeeding. And he did that through entrepreneurialistic traits, all without ever having actually set up the business himself. So you don't, we're really trying to help people to understand that they can break away from that linear view of an entrepreneur being someone that sets up a business. We use a term called intrapreneur, which is really just an entrepreneur in another business. And we only use that to make it comfortable for people to understand it. In our mind, you are an entrepreneur no matter where you do your work. So absolutely, if you are an accountant in practice, you can be entrepreneurial in practice, because how do smaller firms grow? How do mid-tier firms grow? How do big firms innovate into new markets? It's because the people working within them are entrepreneurial. And the same in industry. If you're in an industry, the scope for you as an accountant to be entrepreneurial is, quite frankly, enormous if you're in the right environment.
Fantastic. I guess this is quite a kind of wide question, but and there might not be a step-by-step instructions, but what steps do you think someone, if you had to offer any advice, what steps could an accountant take if they potentially see an opportunity to then kind of follow it through and make a dream become a reality?
It's not. I'd be a very rich man if I could write the key 10. Follow these 10 magic steps to becoming an entrepreneur. There is no handbook, unfortunately, for that. But, we talk in the organization about there's kind of 3 critical things that we work on to help unlock people's entrepreneurial potential. And that's confidence, resilience, and connectivity. So if you have an idea, or if you have a thought, or if you want to be a person that drives an organization forward, you don't have to have had this visionary idea. And you need the confidence to push it forward. So you need to equip yourself with examples of how you have succeeded or you're able to do these things. And that will give you the confidence to put forward what you want to do, or put yourself forward to do something. Equally, you need the resilience then, because as sure as the proverbial, you will get knocked back. People just, it's within their instinct to say no. People are always resistant to change, and entrepreneurs are people that drive against change. And you have to have that resilience to keep going back, keep saying, well, what about this? Maybe did you think about that? You have to have the thick skin to take it on. And then you need the connectivity. You need to be connected to other entrepreneurs, because they feed your confidence and they feed your resilience, and they also provide that support for driving things through. And if you are innovating or changing within a business, it's very different to if you just go out on your own and set something up, because it's a different set of challenges, a different set of stakeholders that you need to influence and bring around to your side. So I would say, look, if you're in a business and you have an idea, then the first thing you want to do is suss out whether your seniors are interested in what you're doing. And then you want to check it out with your peers, see whether it's something that's a reasonable idea for the business. And then if you believe it is, then you really need that tenacity to push it forward. Most organizations are really looking for accountants that are commercial, that think outside the box. So if you can demonstrate your ability to do that, then, it's quids in.
Brilliant. I think, a lot of the traits and attitudes really that you've mentioned there are so important. And I'm also thinking about mindset. So I was thinking about, what kind of challenges do you think accountants face when thinking of themselves as entrepreneurs? Because it's one of those words that you think, you go about, no one ever says, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. But like you say, it's not, it's just a word. It just means to do. So I guess kind of what kind of challenges, how could they change their mindset in terms of like not thinking I'm an entrepreneur, but just to think more entrepreneurial?
Yeah, it's a really tough one, we, in some ways I hate the word entrepreneur because it's like a shield, it's this blocker, it's this, you don't really want to be someone that goes out and says, I'm an entrepreneur, because it sounds like a bit of a title that you've given yourself. And that's why we talk about, thinking, acting or leading entrepreneurially, because then what you're doing is identifying yourself with the trait as opposed to saying, look at me, I'm an entrepreneur, which, can seem presumptuous, and people don't like to kind of tag themselves like that. And also, look, as an accountant, I was definitely one of those guys that had that mug that said, be audit you can be, and we have a tendency to kind of pigeonhole ourselves as kind of bean counters, and we probably enjoy the jokes as much as the people that crack them. So, I would say to fight against that a little bit within yourself, is that, it's okay to be, I love a spreadsheet as much as the next person, and I get comfort out of completing tasks and doing things like that. But just to recognize that actually you've been trained for so much more than that, there's a great quote that I've stolen, and it's, that there are accountants that brew the tea and there are accountants that read the tea leaves. And when people are talking about commercial accountants, really what they're talking about is accountants that read the tea leaves. It's okay that you can do the numbers and you can tell me what has happened in the past and you keep my books and records right. But that's almost like a hygiene factor people expect from you. If you want to be entrepreneurial, if you want to be commercial, they really want to see you digging into what will happen. That's where the value comes for people who aren't accountants from accountants.
That's a great quote. And I also love the fact in the past you've referred to accountants as the rock stars of business.
Yeah, well, look, I think we need to big ourselves up a little bit. My you kind of touched on it. My career path into accountancy was a bit varied. I worked in sales for a number of years, but the very reason that I went back to train as an accountant was because every time I walked in as a salesman to sell what I was selling, the people that were running the business or the people that were influencing the decisions that I needed were almost always accountants. They were either the finance director, or they had previously been the finance director and were now the managing director, or they were an operations director, but they'd been an accountant in the business at some point. So you find accountants permeate everywhere at that decision-making level. And I actually made that kind of conscious decision that if I wanted to be taken seriously and if I wanted to be operating at that level, I needed to pass through accountancy to do that, So, I personally think accountants need to pick themselves up a little bit more.
I think certainly your path, your career journey will be a lot of will be inspiration for many people listening to this as well. Are there any particular types of accountancy roles that you think would benefit somebody gaining more experience in?
I'm always a fan of practice. I love to see accountants come through practice. I trained in the Big Four myself, but I actually really like to see people come through smaller or mid-tier firms because you get great exposure to the inner workings of a business in total. I remember when I joined Deloitte first, one of the first audits I worked on, I spent 3 months working on a portion of accounts that would then feed up into one line in the financial statements. So, all of my work had just one little itty bit to do with the actual final thing. Whereas some of my counterparts who are working in smaller firms or medium firms were able to take an audit from start to finish. So I think if you have had practice, or if you're looking to get into the profession, I would encourage you to do it through the route of practice, because you just get that excellent grounding. And I still use stuff today in businesses that I've seen operate, and you get to look under that hood. If you are coming out of practice and going into industry, then it's more comfortable to work for larger companies. I personally admire people. I went to work for a smaller organisation. London and Scottish was, I think, 30 staff when I joined and nearly 70 when I left. Wow. So, I think if you are able to take an opportunity with a growing company, then you really get that chance to own it, and you get that chance to influence what's happening and use so much more of your skills than if you work with a really well-established business. But there's opportunity in all directions.
Great, thank you so much. I think that's been brilliant, Sean. I think a lot of people that will listen to this will take a lot from it. Do you want to tell us a bit about the Solitaire Leaders programme that Entrepreneurial Scotland runs? I was just thinking it's quite interesting, it might be of interest for somebody watching this as well, potentially thinking about maybe joining in the future or planning for it.
Yeah, definitely. So, and thanks, Hannah, for kind of giving me a space to talk a little bit about it, because it's, as a charity, our success is your success, quite frankly. It's, if we can empower you to become an entrepreneurial leader and to improve your business, or to grow your large organization, or to start up your own business, then you create jobs and you create opportunities for society. So really what we've done is we've created a leadership program over the last number of years that's really designed about getting the world-class education in. So we partner with Babson, which is the #1 entrepreneurial college in the world, and they're based in Boston, and we've been partnering with them for, I think, it's nearly 15 years now. And before the pandemic, a lot of our stuff was done in person, but actually since the pandemic, we've delivered a lot of our courses online, and they work really, really well. And they're designed around those kind of three things I spoke about earlier, which is the confidence, the resilience, and the connectivity. So what we try and do is we try and get people that are leading a team of, say, 3 or 5 individuals or more, someone who's part of a senior leadership team already, or who's possibly about to become part of a senior leadership team. And we network them into a group, a cohort of no more than 10 or 12 people who are entrepreneurially minded, who are either business leaders or who are like themselves potential business leaders going forward. And they go on this 12-month learning journey together. So we, as I said, we partner with Babson, and you do a front-end module where you learn about entrepreneurialism and leading entrepreneurially. And then you spend the next 11 months catching up within your cohort and doing, we call them sprint statements. So like basically checking in against how you've put that thought into action in your own business and your own life. And the idea behind it is to build your confidence as an entrepreneurial leader or leading entrepreneurially, and also to build that connectivity with individuals in the cohort, because it's so important to get that validation from other people that are like you, to say you're on the right track, you're thinking the right way. So yeah, those courses are running. We've got 106 active leaders out at the moment, but we tend to launch those courses sort of every couple of months.
Brilliant. And I think, like you say, it is a lonely place out there sometimes. You've got to be connected to those that are similar, especially in times like these who are not getting out and meeting people and networking as much. The networking piece online is so important, isn't it?
Hugely, yeah. And Scotland is a village. It's so small, and so many people that are in our programs are connected in so many ways. And that's really what we're trying to do, is build a movement of people that are connected, that care about business, that care about Scotland, that want to achieve more than just do their job.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sean, for your time today. That's been really, really insightful. If anybody watching this has any questions about this topic today, feel free to reach out to me. If anyone has a question for Sean directly, all of his contact details will also be tagged on this post as well. Thanks again. Until next time.
No problem. Thanks a million, Hannah. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.